Greetings, beautiful souls. As promised, I have my very special guests on the hour for you. So let's see if they are there. Hello.
Hi.
All in unison. Oh my gosh. Greetings. Oh wow. So we're gonna be talking about relationship. We're gonna be talking about marriage. We're gonna be talking about dating. We're gonna be talking about all the different things that coexist in those genres of, you know, people coming together. But before we do that, we are going to have each of you introduce yourself and just share a little bit about your background and that's it. And then I'll start throwing the questions. So we are going to start. What we'll start with Mr. and Mrs. Galloway because they were the first ones here, and they are a married couple on the show. So we're going to hear from them first. So So over to the Galloways, Mr. and Mrs. Galloway.
Thank you, Imani. Okay, so we're Roger and Paula Galloway. We live in West London, not far from Heathrow, Hayes. We've been together. We have been together now. We've been married now. We've been married for coming up for 28 and a half years. We met when we were childhood sweethearts, I suppose, 17 and 18. In our teens. And at the time, we were very fond of dancing and, for want of a better word, discoing, and we just got to know each other basically through mutual friends. Today, fast forward many, many years down the road, we have three grown men, should I say.
Wow.
The youngest being 19 and the eldest being 25, and we've got a 23-year-old as well. So we're a family of five now, and we're in the next chapter, I suppose, of our married bliss. Not always bliss, up and down, as you know. But yeah, it's marriage comes with certain challenges. I think more than anything else, it's all about communication and remembering those feelings that you had for each other when you first met, because they're still there and sometimes they're just a little bit buried. So that's just a little bit about myself and Roger. I think Roger wants to say a few words.
Okay, Paula's one of four girls as well in her household when she was growing up. Yes, we met when we were 8. She was 18, I was 17. I'm a son of a diplomat. My father was very successful, travelled the world. I used to go to boarding school in Hertfordshire from the age of 10 till 16. Then grew up in Perivale near Ealing in Wembley. And literally when we met each other, started dating, there wasn't many people with two different cultures as ours. I'm from Asian culture, very westernized, and Paula's from Jamaican culture. And wasn't many people of two different races like we were when we first started. Went to college, our relationship bloomed. We moved in at 23 and 22 into a one-bedroom flat in Yeading. And the rest is history. 23 and 22, we started a business when we were younger, managed to do really well at that. By the age of 29, I had a race against my dad to retire from him. And we beat him by 1 month, so we retired at 29. And my wife was we were working together as a team. She was in the Metropolitan Police in New Scotland Yard, and I was a computer consultant, but we built a business on the side outside of it. So I got one other brother, and he's an accountant, and literally we just stuck together through all of the challenges, all of the different things that everybody faces. And today now, 28 years married, 35 years together, literally we're just in the prime of our life.
Wow, that is awesome. Wow. I love that. Oh my goodness. And we're definitely going to, kind of talk on that and also compare to what seems to be going on in relationship today. Thank you so much, Paula and Roger. That was awesome. Who wants to go next? Who wants to go next? I'm going to pick somebody. We're going to have Lyndon. Lyndon, can you go next?
Yeah, I can go next. My name is Lyndon Wissart. I've been married with my wife Yvonne for 20 years now. Okay, I've got one child with her, and in a previous relationship I've got 3 other children. They're all adults now, and I've got 3 grandchildren as well from the previous relationship, which is awesome. Paula's laughing.
That is awesome.
That's awesome.
You kind of forget sometimes, Lyndon, that you're a grandpa.
Yeah, me too. Oh yeah, it doesn't feel like it. But anyway, so like they say, your age is how you feel sometimes, you know. So I don't even think about my age. I just live my life and do what I need to do. To be honest with you, and some people don't like it, some people do like it, some people can't understand it or comprehend with it. But at the end of the day, you got to get on with yourself. Number one in life is you, not other people. So you got to look after yourself and be forceful with yourself to look after yourself. As many of you may have known, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes a few years ago. I was in the danger zone, and within 105 days, I'd reversed it without prescribed medication. And I've written a book about my journey as well, regarding my journey of reversing type 2 diabetes. And in that book is a lot about my family as well, for the simple fact that how you deal with going through illnesses or certain ailments within your life with your partner, with your relationship and things like that. So I think relationships, when I was diagnosed, it tested my relationship with my wife anyway, definitely, because I had illnesses or things going on with my body for over a year, and my wife didn't even know. I didn't tell her, you know, because I was dealing with it internally by myself, you know. So in a relationship, when I told my wife about what I was going through when I was diagnosed, she was more comforting and more helpful than I'd thought, you know, because don't forget, sometimes you open up to some people and you think they're going to be aggressive towards you, they're not going to support you, they're not going to help you. So you think, I just deal with it by myself. And the reason why I speak about this a lot when I do my talks is because there's a lot of men out there who are married, who've got partners, they have issues, but they don't discuss it with their partner or their wife, you know? So for the ladies out there and for the guys out there in a relationship, sometimes it is hard to open up, don't get me wrong, yeah, because you don't want to be judged, number one. And sometimes women out there think the man's got to man up, yeah? And sometimes the woman thinks the man's got to deal with what he's got to deal with. But at the same time, the woman, the lady, the partner, she's there to help and support you. And the men are there to help and support the lady as well. Because the women, they go through much more than men at times. Much, much more. So we have to support them either way as well. Definitely. But this is life. And I think one of the most thing I found in my relationships is the understanding of each person. Because we're not the same. A man and woman is not the same, you know. And sometimes we expect something of somebody, and it's not their genetics to do certain things. You know, I'm not a person who likes to do gardening or DIY. It's not my genetic to do gardening. I'm a chef. Put me in the kitchen, I can just do stuff. I've got no issues with that. You know what I'm saying? But put me in the garden to grow stuff and to chop. It's not really me. You know, get me to do DIY, a cupboard or something like that. I don't know, it's probably taken me 2 years to fix a cupboard in my kitchen. Yeah, because I thought it was all right. For me, it was okay. Yeah, but nobody else thought it was all right. And it's only just recently I fitted the kitchen, the cupboard, how I wanted it to be done. Because it took me a long time to figure out how I think it would be right for the kitchen. But my wife couldn't understand and comprehend with it, you know. But I got a guy who came to our house the other day, he just thinks like that. He just gets on with it. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do what he done. But some ladies, you've got to understand, not all men can do what you want them to do, because you see your friend could do it. Doesn't mean that your husband could do it or your partner could do it. And the same thing for the guys. You don't think your wife is going to cook like your mother. It doesn't work like that. You know, it doesn't work like that. You know, when I go to my mother's house, I get my rice and peas, my stewed chicken, my cold food soup, whatever it is, and I'm happy. I can't expect my wife to do the same thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the way I see it. So that's a bit about relationship, but it's deep. Man and woman, it's deep. It's deep. Anybody says it's simple, it's deep.
We'll be exploring all that because absolutely it is But what we're going to introduce the other two guests. So we are going to go with David Cooke. David, can you just share a little bit about your background and introduce yourself?
Okay, yeah. I'm divorced and remarried. I was married for 12 years. I have, shall I say, 5 kids. 2 of them live with me, and the other 3 live with ex-mum. I'm married to my queen, which I'd say is my soulmate, which is fantastic, as you can imagine. Other than that, I'm a busy sort of person. I like to keep working, but I do like to be with family, if that makes any sense. So I try and have my kids as much as I can do, as allowed. And other than that, that's about it, I'd say.
Wow, thank you, David. That's lovely, and it's so lovely to hear you speak about your wife like that, your soulmate. So we will definitely be asking more questions and be talking more about marriage, soulmates, and but we have got Janet. Janet is our resident coach on the Imani Speak Show, and Janet, last time we talked about self-love, self-care. So Janet, do you want to just say a few things, just reintroduce yourself, and just anything you feel is relevant before we get the discussion started?
Just like to say hi, Imani. Thanks for
You're welcome.
inviting me back. So I'm Janet Brown, and I'm a life coach. And really, my interest is it's a big subject, and my interest is really big on relationships and the relationships that we have with other people. Having had past relationships in my life, also having been divorced in my life. So it's looking at relationships from a different point of view. I feel I'm actually really understanding more than what was given to us, when we evoke in life to have connections with other people. So it's really interesting to be on the show tonight to just hear everybody else's perspective, and also just to look at it from a slightly different way from, what we've been given, that thing of this blueprint of how it has to be, how it has to work out, and really more about how we evolve with each other and where we go to with that, and our vision for connections. What do we learn from it, the experiences we have, and so forth. So I feel it's really going to be a good kind of a meeting of different minds, which is good, because if we're all on the same thing, then sometimes it's not the learning point. So yeah, looking forward to this, and from a life coach point of view to really interested in delving into it. So yeah, look forward to kind of the discussion tonight.
Awesome, thank you, Janet. So one of the reasons why I decided to do a show on this topic is because I really feel, well, first of all, everyone here has gone, has been married. All of us have been married, and some divorced, some separated, what have you. And we have got at least 3 couples here who are still very much together. And so what I'd like to do is really just probably start with marriage. I was going to start with dating, but I think what we'll do, we'll start with marriage and work our way to back to dating. And I really just want to ask the question, is marriage, is it different than what maybe our parents, our grandparents and, generations before experience? And is it a different thing? Do you feel that in your circles, do you find that people are maybe not moving towards marriage in the way that maybe they were generations ago? And yeah, that's a question I'm going to put out. I don't know if somebody wants to volunteer to ask, but if you don't, nobody volunteers, then I'm going to ask you. So
I'll go for it.
Go for it. Go on.
All right. Okay. So from my perspective, my parents were very disciplined. We were super disciplined, in fact. And I think it was ingrained on me when I was younger to be very similar to them. So I suppose when you say the words I do, in my particular case, it was forever. And I know it doesn't work that way practically, but it was in my head. And that may be naive. But Paul and myself, obviously, we've been together since we were kids, 18 and 17, and that doesn't normally last. And if we compare it into today's society, where it's divorce rates apparently are up to 42.5%, it's like they don't believe in it at all. So if they, the laundry's not there, there's a sock on the floor, or they haven't put their pajamas in there, or haven't done something, they have a big argument, and that's it, I'm storming off. That wasn't the era I was brought up in, and I don't think it was the same for Paula, but she can speak for herself. But for me, it was, you know what, we've got to work it out. And I know it's a cliche, but, we was always told, and I'm not saying I do this every single time because I'm not perfect, is don't go to bed angry. And then, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like Paul and myself, we've been together so long, it feels like it was only 18 and 17 when we were together again, when we first started. And it goes so quickly. So for me, time is the hourglass, and we have to remember it's a gift. So if we can stay together, and I know it's not always the case, but in our case, we fought hard. I can only speak from our own experience. We fought hard to be together. I don't think we've ever thought about breaking up. Okay. But I'm sure in our angered moments, when you're thinking like, oh, you stupid old girl, or whatever it may be, we say the stupidest things. But as we've got more mature and elder in age, I don't think it has the same kind of strength. So it's when you're younger, I think you've got to be more flexible. I don't know. What do you think?
Your parents, they've been married how many years?
Mum and dad were married over 50 years. 60 years, yeah.
60, didn't they? My parents were married like 30 odd years, but they got divorced sort of like later on in life. I think relationships and marriages, it is a little bit different, I would say. I think back in the day, you tended to sort of like stick with it a lot more. I know my mum, throughout her marriage, early days were great, middle time wasn't too bad, and then it sort of like was a little bit of a slippery slope. And she sort of like stuck with it because that's what they did, or my parents did back then. And it was hard. It's always hard sometimes to separate and to financially split it down the middle. So I think they had a little bit more stickability, I would say. It wasn't so not readily available, though that's not the right word, but I think it was a case of, let's just stick with it. And especially if they had children were involved often, you'd wait for the children to be a certain age. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
No, I love what you're saying there. And comparing that to today, do you feel as though maybe we're a bit of a throwaway society, that people, kind of maybe don't do the things that you've both just been saying, as in, keep going at it and seeing, sort of remembering why you got together in the first place, and realizing that, the challenges are there, as in anything. I mean, it's challenging in every area of your life. So why would it not be challenging in a relationship or a marriage? And do you think that society today don't really uphold relationships and marriage in the same way as they did, say, back in the day?
I agree. I think so, Imani. I do. I think they don't take it with the same seriousness. We tried not to get married. I'm not joking. We couldn't afford it. 27 years of age and 27 or 26, I think it was. And, we kept saying to each other, we don't need to get married. Can't afford it.
Too much money.
Yeah.
And then there's so many things that come into play, isn't it? You want a place together. If you're going to rent, that's a lot of money. If you're going to buy, now that's a lot more money. And there's so many different children. So there's so many different things that you need to communicate to each other before you even go down that path, really, with regards to, time, because time moves on, doesn't it? So it's nice if you're on the same page, really. And if you're not, then it's up to you to decide, well, do you want to be with that person? But I think sometimes maybe the transparency and the honesty is not there, or it's a question of, I would say we couldn't afford to do a lot of things, but we was just edging forwards, I suppose.
I think the difficulty is that social media portrays marriage in a different way. We talk about having, David used the phrase, his soulmate, and that's a lovely phrase. And, do we know they are soulmate as soon as we meet them? Maybe we do. But, you know, for some of the skeptics out there, they'll be thinking like, nah, it's just a cliche. But for me personally, I agree with David. When you meet somebody, and, you know instantly that you're going to be together. Okay, so I think now it's portrayed a bit over-portrayed or over-exaggerated of the pizzazz of being married. When
perfection. There is no perfect marriage.
You know what I mean? And it's
perfect relationship. They don't exist.
Well, it's the weddings, isn't it? You see the wedding programs. You see buying the dress. Holy mackerel!
Yes to the dress. I love it.
We love
it.
We couldn't even afford a dress. Paula had to rent the dress. You know what I mean? We were baked beans on toast kind of people. We didn't even tell our parents we couldn't afford stuff, but we paid for our own wedding because if in our families, it's like they wanted to invite everyone and the dog next door. But for us, really and truly, it wanted to be our wedding. Yeah. So we had a small affair in the Hilton Hotel on the M4 with about 80 people there. And for us, it was magical because it's what we wanted, not what everyone else wanted, because it meant a lot to us. And I think, the media, the television, they portray this, like Paula said, there's perfection.
A lot of comparisons as well, I think. There's people just are comparing. I think, Lyndon, you said it. It's all about improving yourself and bettering yourself and knowing, who you are. And I think now with society and social media, it's all about, oh my gosh, that flamboyant dress or that flamboyant wedding.
Everything's a competition now.
It's just too much of that. I don't think you had so much of that way back when. You used to look in, a magazine and have a look and think, oh, that's nice, but you wouldn't want to replicate it. Nowadays, it's just so much more they want.
Even like buying the rings. I mean, it's like, holy, have you seen the size of the rings that they're expecting these days? We couldn't afford anything. We just had a simple gold band, which was a symbol of our supposedly love and unity and everything else. And they've taken it away from its, in my eyes, the true essence, the true meaning of what marriage really is. And, and I know there are circumstances beyond everyone's control, but, Lyndon, you've known us for a long time. But people always said that we were a great fit, even though we are so different. And we could do something like that life coach Janet Brown probably knows, is all the different personalities. Or maybe we are opposite personalities that makes it work. And maybe we were just really lucky. But I know from us, it's no different than having your own business, having your own limited company. You have to work hard together in this partnership. And that is the key. And you have to have compromises.
Yeah. That's the word, Roger. Compromise. That is the word, compromise. And I don't think a lot of people see compromise nowadays. It's either listen, I want it this way or no other way, and that's what it is. It's like one of my friends, they had these two couples. They always go out with each other everywhere. They went with each other, parties, clubs, everything. And then one couple decided they fell in love, deeply in love, and they wanted to get married. So they got engaged, and then what happened? The other couple, they weren't engaged, so the girlfriend pushed the boyfriend to get engaged, and you could tell the boyfriend didn't want to get engaged, and he proposed to her in a way that was not natural, So these other couple, they got married, they went to get married, they had a baby now, but this couple, they're still engaged, they haven't got married yet, so and they're still in their zone. But other couples, they've moved on to where they want to be. So initially, they got engaged for the sake of getting engaged with somebody else. And this is what people do nowadays.
And Lyndon, do you know what? We have the same experience. So some of our married friends, as opposed to the unmarried ones, spending like 60 grand on a wedding. And you're getting yourself in debt to make everyone else make your show. It becomes a show as opposed to a marriage, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's a sad thing about it nowadays. And the thing about it, when you see a lot of people, you said it before, Paula, the attraction of other people. Sometimes now you see somebody, or a young teenager, they see somebody, a girl or a boy, they like them, and then they're with them for about a week or 2 weeks, and then next week they move on to somebody else. The attraction.
The thing is, Lyndon, you say that they've moved on to somebody else, but they haven't had the time. Guess what? To be on their own, to love themselves again, and to work on themselves. So what I see a lot of the time, I'm not pointing the finger, is this ricochet. It's like they're like a pinball. machine.
Yes.
Like the ball, and they're just going from one to the other. And sometimes they go back to the one that they broke up with, and you're all confused.
Yes.
Well, you know, what's happened?
Yeah.
You can't make sense of it. So that's sometimes what I don't get sometimes. And maybe I'm prehistoric, I'm old, but I think sometimes if you break up with somebody, just give yourself a little bit of time.
Yeah, I can't comprehend with it either.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And there's other programs that I've watched, real life programs with relationships. So these people, they're in the 50s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. You can tell how they've either regret what they've been through or regret what they've done, and they've become lonely, and they think, oh, if only, you know, if only I stopped what I was doing and just disciplined myself and let it go, rather than continuing with the way my behavior of being myself, rather than understanding another person. And I've seen it so many times as well. So it's a tough one. It's a tough one, you know.
Wow, those were some big answers to the question there. I want to, because David Cooke was mentioned there. David, do you want to come in and say anything, you know, about marriage and how you see it now, how you see it from before, and also, you know, that lovely term that you used to describe your wife, the soulmate?
I mean, all right, back in the day, earlier, when I first got married, shall I say, I was obviously a lot younger. Maybe, I don't know if it was pressure or just something that to me was new. And I thought, you know what, why not? Why don't we just do this sort of scenario? My parents were never married. So I never knew what the marriage looked like concerning my parents. It was just the sort of thing where people were just getting married at the time. So I thought, you know what, maybe I should be getting married as well, sort of scenario. Thinking that obviously that was my main mate, shall I say. I wouldn't have said soulmate then, because as you get older, you actually know what your soulmate actually is. When you're younger, you don't actually, I wouldn't say you know exactly what you know, what love is, if you know what I mean, when you're younger. You kind of have to grow to know what you need in your relationship sort of scenario, and how you feel about the other person, if that makes sense. I suppose at the time, I suppose it was probably maybe, say, the in thing sort of scenario. I mean, the wedding was probably roughly about $3,000 or something like that, which is quite cheap for a wedding at that time, if you know what I mean. But again, it was more to suit everybody else. It was like everybody else had to get invitations and that sort of stuff, even though people you don't even know and all that kind of stuff. It wasn't about us as in me and the wife. It was more of about relatives, friends, and you know that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Which
kind of made me realise when I got married the second time that I didn't need all that, if that makes any sense, because it wasn't about friends and family. It was about myself and her, if that makes any sense, and not about what everybody else wants, if that makes any sense. But I mean, it was, well, we just had something in a whole sort of scenario. Did we do the church thing? I can't remember if we did the church thing as well. Oh yes, we did. Yes, sorry, it's a bit quite a while back. I'm trying to remember it all. But yeah, so we've done all that, which was okay. It was fine, all that sort of stuff. And at the end of it, you know, you kind of just get on with it, sort of scenario. So we kind of just got on with it. But it's different now, if you know what I mean. I suppose once you get older, you're more thinking of yourself than other people. I think the pressures of family and friends getting involved in your life in general, I've kind of taken that out of the equation now, if that makes any sense, as I've got older, hopefully wiser, and then basically just sticking to things that's making me happy or keeping me happy, instead of those things that were just more of something on your shoulder, if you know what I mean, interfering with your relationships and friendships and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. So yes, so I think the second time because obviously you're right. Once you get married, you think to yourself, well, you're not going to get divorced, and you're not, you expect it to last forever. If that makes any sense. But I've tried. I think it was a scenario where I tried everything within those years. I think everything went wrong probably like 5 years before the divorce, but it was just, no matter what was said or done within them years, it wouldn't improve, if you know what I mean. So that's why I thought, so you know what, this is obviously not working. And that was probably the best way of getting out of it, if that makes sense, because not only was it affecting myself, obviously it's affected the kids as well. And so it was unfair for us to be going through all this and not being able to work anything out, even after conversations and people getting involved and having more conversations. It was still not getting anywhere. And in that sort of scenario, I just knew that maybe at the time I shouldn't have got married, because I wouldn't have said she was my soulmate, if that makes any sense.
Do you feel like you could have solved it, or it was like there was nothing you can do about it? Because there's a point where you get to the point in relation that you really wanted to work.
Yeah, no, it got to a point where I was, you think to yourself, well, maybe I need to discuss this, maybe, try different things to try and make it last longer and all that sort of stuff. But it for some reason, I remember moaning to someone at work, and then having that same conversation about 5 years later, and still moaning. And they said to me, "Oh, you know what? You told me that about 5 years ago." I said, "Seriously, you told me that?" So 5 years later, yeah. But then you just know that's not gonna. If you know what I mean,
right, yeah.
Everything, and I was kind of surprised. It kind of took me back, and I thought to myself, I can't believe that I've been still going through the same thing.
Yeah. But when you go for your second marriage, did you have any reservations?
And still not getting anywhere.
Did you have any reservations for your second marriage?
Of course. It was one of them things where, we was clicking, shall we say? Yeah, in every part we were clicking, and she reminds me of me, if that makes any sense. Yeah. So we had a lot in common, or we do have a lot in common, shall I say? Yeah, we have a lot in common. So it kind of moved in that way, as in like, don't get me wrong, she wasn't my soulmate as soon as I met her. I knew there was something about her, I didn't know what it was, if that makes sense, because it was something I hadn't experienced before, either from my past marriage, if that makes sense. So it was something new to me, but it was something that I liked, which was confusing to me because I've never experienced it before. It was nice. It kind of made sense that we just got on so well. If that
David, do you think it's just because your personalities went together?
It could be that, but then I don't know, because I'm the sort of person that I normally get on with anyone in general. But it was something more than, I think, just personality. I think it was other things. It was the kindness that maybe I didn't get as much as I did in my previous marriage. And, that sort of, them little bits that makes all the difference.
Security, that makes a difference, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not something I was looking for, but it was there, and it was nice, if that makes sense, and so then gradually I thought, well, she reminds me of me so much, then that's when I thought, she's my soulmate. And then that's what made me think to myself, you know what, I don't think I could be without her, and that was why I decided to ask her to marry me, if that makes sense.
Oh wow.
That's a good reason. Because, and to me, that was a reason where, I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't just think to myself, you know what, Thursday I'm just going to ask her. It wasn't that kind of scenario. It was like, it took me at least, I knew how I felt about her, but it took me at least about 6 to 8 months before I actually decided to ask her. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I was expecting things to change, because you know how you get, when somebody gets used to each other, shall I say, then sometimes they don't, they change slightly. They either don't make less of an effort, or that kind of scenario where you feel, they're not as nice as they used to be, but the relationship changes sometimes, or you start thinking they're taking you for granted slightly. That kind of not balance.
I think you would call it the comfort zone. You get in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of scenario. So that's probably why it took 6 to 8 months for me to actually decide that, that this is definitely what I wanted to do, because obviously I do want to make the same mistake as I did previously. But I just knew more. I think that I was just wiser. I actually knew what I was looking for, whereas before, because I was younger, maybe I didn't know what I was looking for. And I think now that I know, I just knew that was the right thing to do at the time. And we're still very happy. Well, I am anyway. I'm not right?
You are. I know he says that.
I am.
David, we'll have to bring her on one of the shows.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we get on so well. It's at the moment we're not living together because she lives in one area and I live in another. They say that if when you're apart, the relationship's always better, but I don't actually think it's that. It's because it's just because of the way things have changed in the new relationship sort of scenario, because we're relatively newly married, if that makes any sense, for the last year and a half. I'm hoping that's the right date. If not, I'll be getting cussed later. But anyway,
absolutely. You know what's going to happen to you, David. You're getting the full wigging.
I'll be telling you that'll be my third divorce now, man. My second divorce, I say. No, but
don't speak into existence, David. Don't speak into existence.
Don't speak what you do not want to happen.
Yeah, it's like that. Very true. But it works, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? We'll be a stage where we will be obviously living together properly. But it's just I've moved and I've bought a house. I've got to sort that sort of scenario side out before she moves in and all that sort of stuff. And I just want to get it done before, because I don't want the aggravation of stressing myself out and doing one thing and then trying to be a proper husband and another, as well as a father. You know what I mean? I'm trying to do less stress all at once, if you know what I mean, so that I'm not taking it out on the people that you love. Yeah, so it's that kind of scenario.
You sound very measured, David. Very measured.
Yes.
Yeah,
very sensible, very wise. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the pressure there is for everyone, if that makes sense. Because obviously, it's obviously going to be hard for her to move in with me and my 2 boys. You know what I mean? Because I can imagine the pressure that she may have with the boys, especially because they're teenagers as well. You know what teenagers are like.
They're very good.
Yeah. So, but I mean they're warming to her anyway. You know what I mean? But obviously, if she moved in, then they'll obviously hopefully warm up quicker. If you know what I mean. But because of this pandemic at the moment, we're not seeing as much as each other as we would do, and all that sort of scenario. So it is taking its toll. But but I'm hoping that it'll all work out. I'm sure it will do, because as I said, she's like me, so I can't see that it could ever be a problem in the long run. But yeah, so what happens, I suppose.
Good luck.
Beautiful. That's awesome what you said there, and explaining, your definition of a soulmate, somebody who matches you and fits with you. It sounds like you're talking about the hand in the glove that fits, and that's lovely that you have found that, and thank you for sharing. And you said something else which is actually, before I ask the next question, I want to hear from Coach Janet. Janet, what do you think about our lovely guests and what they've said about marriage? Sorry.
Okay, yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I think in all of it though, if we really get down to the key of the matter, is how we evolve as people, as individual people, and then come together to do teamwork with somebody else, and how that actually works out for people. Because when we actually get together, the connection is all about what we learn about ourselves. We learn about the other person and we think it's all about the other person, which it's not always. It's always about that connection to evolve and grow with somebody to whatever point that takes you. So that might be forever and ever until one person is passed on and the other person is here. But that's what it's all about. It's that ebb and flow. It's never going to be a straightforward thing. I think the institution of marriage is always the same. It has the same blueprint, but it's how you as a person and then two people come together to be in that institution, because it is an institution. The changes that people are talking about the throwaway culture that we live in, because we can get something quickly, that's what we go for. So that's maybe even in relationships, or I don't like this no more, or whatever we want it quick. So sometimes that's what it's about. So you have to kind of step back sometimes to reflect on what it is that this is showing, because there's times when we have to have good communication with ourselves, with other people, being able to be open and share, to be vulnerable with somebody else as well. That's a very hard one sometimes, to actually be vulnerable with somebody else and be okay in that vulnerability, because through the vulnerability is where you get the strength really, and how you pace yourself with each other. Like I said, sometimes it is a matter of knowing that you're ebbing and flowing. So when you were 25, you may be different at 50 in the way that you communicate with that same person or somebody else. You have relationships are always the same title, but it's the ingredients in the relationship that matters. So was it different with one person to another person? Is it the same things? What are you learning about the connection you have, and how are you having the relationship with yourself? So sometimes even marriage, sometimes that blueprint sometimes of where the other guests have talked about how they had the wedding. Sometimes it's the wedding that becomes the thing and not the actual relationship that you're going to be had after you've had the lovely dress and you've had the 200 people. It's what's going to happen after that happens. And I think people get so excited for the wedding sometimes, which not saying that you shouldn't have a good wedding. It's the ingredients after that. And even in that relationship, you're growing and evolving from one person into another. There's certain things you might have liked at the beginning, which you don't like anymore, or you wouldn't like to change. Not that you want to change something else.
Yeah, but
it's about
Jenny, I don't mean to cut you, but you said something there about the wedding. Do you find that a lot of people, or when they focus a lot on their weddings, do you find that there's arguments after the wedding from couples rather than having a honeymoon period? Do you find that when you're talking to couples after weddings and stuff like that?
I think generally, if you think of when people say marriage, it's usually about the wedding, or how we receive the message. I'm not saying everybody takes it. How you receive the message. Now get ready for wedding mode. How we're going to be and look on that day. But it's how it should be, how we're connected, not just the love, because love can go up and down as the couples here, as you've said yourself, but the compatibility is what is the diamond thing around your and your teamwork together. You're going to have different characteristics. Some people are even going to be opposite, and the opposites actually work. But it's just knowing that. So sometimes it's the actual attention on that part of it. They don't know, and sometimes people think it's it's not the work. They don't have to put the work in, and sometimes you do. And sometimes there are times when you might even it's that thing of knowing, okay, the work has been put in. How far can we go with this? Can more work be put in? Is it like, no, I don't want to put no more work in. This is not for me. So it's all those questions really, and it's not an instant thing, and sometimes it's a gut knowing as well, and being honest with that as well.
I think for me, Janet, it goes back to the word you mentioned, which was team.
Yes.
Our family is all about Team Galloway, TIV, together in victory.
Wow.
Yeah. Ever since we were kids, we always said that no matter what happens, We've just got to stick through it no matter what happens, and that is it. So Team Galloway, TIV is still with us today. Our kids know it. Everybody around us knows it. In fact, everywhere you'll see it on the sat nav, you'll see it on the mobile phone, you'll see everywhere team. And we've been doing it. It's not a new fad. This has been going for 37, 38 years, because when we got married, it was a union. And that was it for us. That union meant team. And there would be ups and downs, like you said, ebbs and flows. There'll be disagreements, there'll be agreements. We will change and evolve through this whole period of time, as we have probably changed and evolved for many, many years, and probably will continue to change and evolve.
Yeah.
But that team was the thing, I think, that has been our healthy part for us. Don't you reckon?
Definitely. I think working on yourself again. Yes, you're a team with your partner, but working on yourself individually in your own right to become a better person, to become a better wife, a better mother, a better daughter, just to become a better person yourself. And then you can bring that to the team anyway. And then hopefully your partner's doing the same. I think as individuals, as people, as men, women, that we just need to improve ourselves. We need to improve our lives, and we need to make sure that we're in balance, that we are doing those little things, whether or not it's just a 15-minute walk, 20-minute walk, whether or not it's just listening, some downtime, some mindfulness, releasing exercise. These things are all so important in life, especially more so now in this time, in this pandemic, in this time, because, people are literally at home. They're seeing the four walls. They can't go anywhere. They're literally trapped in their own homes, and they need to find a little bit of a release, a little bit of time away, maybe from their partner, from their better half, to just to have 10 minutes, just to take 10 minutes.
I think what was really brilliant, I was seeing you two guys exercising together, and I took my hat off to you, you know what I'm saying? I see Paula doing what you're doing, Roger doing what you're doing, and Jamie's, just they're supporting both of you, which is awesome, and that's a rarity.
Do you know what, Lyndon? It's interesting you say that. Yeah, I had no interest in exercising. None.
For the last how many years?
For the last 20, 30 years. I was getting chubbier and chubbier. Yeah. I was just saying to Paula 20-something years ago when we went to Coral Reef in Bracknell, and how chubby you were at that time. Okay, and then it's like us since the pandemic. Yes, it's been a real negative experience, but for us, we just tried to turn it into a positive. We're lucky we've got an outside chalet, which we converted into a gym, and my son is a physical training instructor. Jamie is 25, and then we now train every night. And in fact, we trained just before coming on here today, and knackered, absolutely knackered. But it's our time, because even though we're stuck in the house, the communication has ceased. Most people just moan and groan about it. We're just trying to find something to, as Janet has correctly said, evolve. We've got to adapt. But every environment, Paul has mentioned about personal growth for each of us, because that makes the team stronger.
I really think that you and Paula should sit down, and some of the things that you've discussed today and talked about got you through this. Write a book about it, do a short book about your experience, because you've been together for such a long time, and especially in the situation that we're going through right now, you seem your relationship seems to be getting stronger. You've bonded in a different way now. From your child being in the same room as you, working out together. It's awesome. It's amazing. It's amazing to see that. We don't see that.
Yeah, true.
We just don't see that at this after a couple's been together for 20 odd years. I'm saying no matter what you go through, your ups and downs, we may see, we may not see it, but whatever you're going through now, you're dealing with it in a way that a lot of people can't deal with it and won't deal with it. I can't comprehend with it. And this is such a powerful thing which you guys are doing. You may be just living your life, but it's people on the outside.
That's just it, Lyndon. Yeah, that's just it. We are just living our lives, and we are. Ironically, Jamie used to work at Evolve, but we are evolving, and we are sort of like navigating our way through it, Lyndon. And we are very much, the glass is always half full. We've always been like that. And I think through adversity, and through pandemics and through challenges, you still have to navigate. You still have to take that next step, walk through that door. That's it. It's your chapter now. You know, somebody's passed the baton over to you. I mean, we've got 3 young men in the house. And some people to be honest, you know, all 3 of them working from home. Where's their space? Okay, we've got a fair sized house, but you know, everybody needs their little space, their little groove, their little uplift, their little time to themselves, their little space to do what they do as well. But I think being an example is a great one for your children. And Roger, you know, he'll say it himself, he hated to do any sort of form of exercise, going to the gym or anything like that, or going for a walk. That was just not him. But what he does now is just inspiring. It really is.
So I think, Janet, you're absolutely right. You know, it's all about the team.
And character building is also quite an awesome thing, of how Roger and Paula are saying. About you had your team already and now you're just building more on this adversity, where for some people it will work that way, that they get stronger, and other people it won't, but it will reveal some other stuff. You know, other people it won't be, or they're going to have to come in from scratch if they decide to, you know, go the whole hog in this time, because it's very up and down. Today you can be okay and tomorrow it can be very different. So it's not as if, you know, right, by the end of the week it's all over and we're thing. It you know, the strongest of one of us can be feeling, you know, anxiety one minute and feeling okay at the next. So it's all those things, like Paula said, to do to kind of help us through. Sometimes it's even not knowing what to do, to find something that's going to connect with you to help you through.
Wow. Lots of really great things there. Definitely teamwork, and also as you were talking, I felt, you know, core values is one of the things that I feel has come through. And I love what Janet has said, and I love what Lyndon said about Paula and Roger, in that, you know, you both, you know, got this long marriage and you've got all these values, and I definitely think you should, you know, be sharing this in a book, or I don't know, in some kind of work that is going to help people, because at this time, especially with I think with the COVID, what I think it's done, it's either brought people together who already had strong foundation and who already decided that no matter what, they were going to make their marriage work, and they have this mentality of the glass half full. And the people who probably were more pessimistic anyway, people who maybe, you know, didn't have that strong foundation, are the ones who are probably struggling. And it's not to say, you know, those people are bad or what have you, but, you know, it's something like COVID is either going to make or break you. And what we're hearing from Paula and Roger is that they've taken, you know, this difficult time, and they've, you know, turned it into, you know, evolving their marriage, their relationship inside that marriage, and their family as a unit. Because even with the flyer, I really liked the family, you know, picture as well. So I added that into it, because I thought, you know, because marriage is also about family. It's you know. What I wanted to ask about love, but I think with all these questions, with all these things that came up during when Janet was speaking, and when Paula and Roger, you know, responded as well. What I want to ask you quickly is, can anybody want to kind of just give what are some tips? What would you say is some of the things for, you know, holding together in a marriage? And I know we've talked about divorce a little bit here, and but I think today I'm going to do a show on divorce and breakups. But today I think it's about holding together no matter what. And does anybody want to kind of just throw out a few things that, you know, they feel can help the listening audience?
I think it goes to what Janet was saying, is the evolving part. Life can be very monotonous. You know, you keep doing the same thing all the time, then you start taking each other for granted. And then, you know, somewhere along the line, life's going to tell you you're an idiot. For us, it's like if I ever get to that stage, she will tell me I'm an idiot. But I think what happens is that you come to this sense of realization that, you know what, you're right, stop talking. I know how much she loves me talking to her, and so now I'm starting to get. And I'm 55. I should have learnt this ages ago, shouldn't I? Okay, but I'm sure I have at some points, but I've forgotten it. And then that forgetting period is the dangerous part. When you get to that, that supposed normality that this is just how it's supposed to be. It don't have to be that way. When we 3 years ago, we set a goal to go away with our 3 boys to Ochi, to Duns River and everything else in Jamaica, and go back and do all this stuff we did. And we did it as a family. It was a team unit. And, it was all done. We all saved up and it was brilliant. And we had like a super 5-star, and we got married on the beach for our 25th anniversary. And there's me, a blubbering wreck, waiting on this like wedding stand to see my wife, glide along the beach and being held by my son, my eldest son. It was phenomenal. So we set a goal to say, you know what, we don't want it to be all the same again. So we set a goal on our 30th anniversary. If the boys want to come with or without their girlfriends, they're going to, save a little bit towards it with us. And we're only 1 year away from our goal, and our anniversary is in 2 years. So for us,
next year.
Yeah, it's actually next year. So, and we're just working out on different areas to go to. But the reality for us is that we got to try and keep it fresh. So, all of you are saying the same thing, that evolution, that not getting not staying in the same place has been instrumental. And it's friends as well. It's our other team circle external to us. People like Lyndon we've known for ages, and we're really honest with each other, and we've got a similar set of beliefs. But yes, a positive attitude helps, but it really is about the work side of it. The ethic for me on the marriage or the relationship is you've got to keep working at it. So we continuously individually have to evolve and not be worried about if you've got one-upmanship on your wife and vice versa. It's just about having that faith that you're both thinking about the same thing and have the same end goal. So for me, that team thing within the family is really important. So following on from what Lyndon said, he said that me and my wife train, and we love training together. In fact, I wouldn't do it without her, and she probably would do it without me, but I wouldn't do it without her. But we do it with the 3 kids sometimes, sparingly, because they're super fit and everything else. We're just beginners or whatever it is. But when we're all 5 of us in that gym, it feels like we're just a one unit. And that is, my wife looks at me and she just says, she just smiles. Well, even when Jasmine comes in, when your daughter comes, and she's my goddaughter, okay, our goddaughter, sorry, then when she's in the gym, we're all just giggling, and we're working hard, we're sweating, we're huffing and puffing, but it's flipping brilliant. And they're the moments that make a difference for me.
Wow, I love that, and because working out together as a family, there's always been that saying, the family that prays together stays together, but you've taken it one level further. The family that stays healthy together and work out together, stays together and have that fun, and I think that's amazing, and that's definitely a tip I feel people could look at within their own relationships and do something with.
I think you said it again there, Imani. You said having fun. I think that's it.
Fun,
Sometimes the monotony comes in. You know what? Because life is hard. At the end of the day, life is hard. That's the way it can be sometimes. It can be tricky. It can be a bit of a roller coaster. So you know what? You've got stuff to do. You've got stuff to do. You've got your washing, your ironing, your cooking, your cleaning, your shopping, your this, your that. You sit down. You've got your phone now. You've got mobile phone now, Facebook, Insta, this, that. So before you know it, you've got the TV, Netflix, radio going on. So when do you have the time? You have to make the time. You have to make the effort. You have to sit down, just turn off the TV, turn off everything, and just sit down and have a drink, have a tea, coffee, glass of wine or whatever. You can't go to Costa now. So just sit down and just take that time. It's just a quiet time, an hour to just reassess, see where you're going, see, what you need from the other person, just to have that sort of like selfish time between you as a couple, as a unit. You are a unit, because again, these little things, they creep in, don't they? They creep in, and before you know it, he's on his phone, I'm on my phone, he's doing this, I'm doing that, and never the twain shall meet. You've just gone in two separate directions instead of coming together and just realising, hold on, we're on the same path here. You might be a little bit behind me, I might be a little bit in front of you, but that's okay. That's fine. It's having fun as well. Having a good belly laugh. I love them.
Oh, gosh. Wow. Yeah, and what you're talking about there is having a conscious relationship, because like you said, it's the little things. If anyone looks back in their relationships, especially relationships that are broken up or marriages that are broken up, it always started with a little thing that never got fixed, and it just got worse and worse and worse, and it just carried on. I think somebody was saying they'd been talking about something that had carried on for 5 years. It's things like that that kind of becomes so I think what you just said there, Paula, was to be conscious of those things and remedy them straight, as quickly as possible, so it doesn't become something that just goes on and on and on and grows into something big. Because obviously, two people coming together, there is something there that pulls them together, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, because that Janet mentioned earlier on, because I wanted to answer the question, what is the difference of between marriage and relationship? Because a lot of people are saying, relationship and, marriage is not it's the same thing. Marriage is the paper, but what Janet mentioned, the institution, and I feel as though marriage is two families coming together, and it's the ceremony, you're bringing your friends and what have you. What I want to hear from you all, or whoever wants to make answer this question, is what's the difference between a marriage and relationship? Because we're going to look inside the relationship now, the anatomy of a relationship. Anybody want to?
Yeah, so isn't a relationship should come before a marriage?
Yeah.
And that makes the reason for doing a marriage, because you have had some kind of connection that you feel you want to take into marriage. That's how I would see it. I mean, there's other things that people may want to do, but for people who want to go into marriage, I would have thought it was a strong connection in a relationship, some kind of vision, and the reason why that you now want to take it forward into marriage.
I'd agree with that, Janet. I'd say, relationship, you're getting to know that person. And during that relationship, however long or short that may be, you will make up your mind as to whether or not that, you're serious about that person, and potentially you could see yourself marrying that person. So the relationship is the prequel to obviously the marriage and that union and that bond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're kind of going back. We started with marriage, we're going to a relationship, and then if we've got time, we'll go into the dating, because that's sort of where everything starts. That's the beginning stage. But just really to get that, what is that difference between being in a relationship and deciding to get married and being in a marriage? Would you say there is a different level of commitment, or would you say pretty much it doesn't make a difference? Anybody?
I think that the dating is the exciting part, the beginning of the excitement, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll go there. We'll go there in a bit. Yeah. But what would you say? Is that Lyndon? Would you say there's a difference?
Yes.
Would you say there is a difference? Because back in the day, society kind of made it essential that people got married.
It's compulsory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whereas today, more and more people are saying, we can do our own vows and do our own.
And there's no difference, and that you feel the same anyway, and you're living together anyway, and they make all sorts of excuses to why.
Do we agree with that? I mean, I know what I think, but I want to kind of stand back and just let you guys say what you
feel. I think, Imani, that really sometimes it's what suits people, because different people can go into different things and it means something different to them, and it works. Some people might think, no, there's no way I'm going to do it this way, live together before I get married, and other people will do it that way. Whether they're being honest with themselves or not, I don't know, but they'll do it. So, there's never no one size fits all. Some people might think, no, there's no way I'm going to live with somebody before I get married. It's got to be that way. Some people kind of stumble and fall into it. Some people know from the beginning, this is what I want, and I'm going with this at this point. And I think now people actually are getting married later in life. I think, maybe 30, 40 years ago, people got married in their sort of end of teens, mid-20s. It wasn't unusual where now people could be marrying sometimes in 40s for the first time. It does mean different things to different people. I don't know if we're all going to get everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, like this is what works, this is what everyone must do.
For us, I suppose, Janet, it's a word. The marriage or the institution of marriage, the relationship was, marriage is commitment.
Yeah.
That's what it means to us. It's the commitment part. It's literally saying, this is going to work. We've done the relationship bit. We've had the fun or whatever it may be in terms of finding out about each other. But the marriage bit, because we took 18 to 27, that's like 9 years. We really weren't decided on getting married because it was a cost implication, when we should have looked at it as more of a internal thing between ourselves, a spiritual thing, I suppose, to say commitment-wise, do we want to be together, and do we want to formalise that in the form of an institution of marriage? And commitment for me meant that was it, done. It was not going to be changing as long as we could help it, of course. And we've been fortunate enough to stand the test of time. But, for me, it is that one word. The operative phrase is commitment.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And even that, for some people, will be different things. Yes, they're committed to be together and not marry. Some people, yes, it's got to be. But commitment, connection, those words are... and the vision for like you and Paula, your team, those are all, knowing your why, even when when things are not going that well, knowing the why you're together is really important.
Yeah. Janet mentioned that people are getting married older, but what I'm also noticing is a lot of young people are looking at marriage for the vehicle, of their relationship and the love that they share as well. That seems to be something that's coming through a lot. And when I say young people, I'm talking about people maybe, early 20s, say by 24, 25, looking at, that seems to be something that's coming up. And also another thing as well is celibacy as well before marriage as well, with some younger people seems to be coming up. But I would definitely say commitment definitely seems to be something that makes people want to go for marriage and take it to the next level, because I do feel that it is a next level. And I don't know if anybody else wants to jump in. Can we hear from Mr. Cooke, because you mentioned you recently got married a year and a half ago, and something made you decide to get married to your lady. And can you because it's only a year and a half ago, can you kind of express to us what was that thing that made it different than if you just stayed in relationship? You still loved each other, you still wanted to be together, you knew you were not going to go your separate ways. What was it that made you go to that next level?
I think it's been. I think it's hard to explain, but it was more of to me, shall I say, it's more of how I am. I think if I'm gonna commit to something, then I need to commit full-heartedly, and I think that was the difference from just being in a relationship. If that makes any sense. So I thought to myself, well, I think we should move further in the relationship, if that makes sense, because I believe that a relationship you'll only always be at one level, and I think that you need to show your partner that it's bigger than that. And I think for me, asking her to marry me was trying to basically show her that I think that this relationship is bigger than just a relationship, if that makes any sense, so that she knows exactly how I feel about her, and that we can move together so that there's no doubts in the relationship as well, if that makes any sense. So that's what made me decide to ask her, basically. Obviously, I didn't know what she was going to say. It was just, but it just worked, if you know what I mean. Obviously, if she said yes, I'm assuming she was thinking exactly what I'm thinking as well, as in taking the next step, and showing that I'm serious, or that we're both serious with each other, and that we do want to stay together, we do want to move on together, we want to plan a life more together, because I think in a relationship, I think it's harder to make plans in the relationship, because anything can happen in a relationship. Whereas if you're married, then you'll probably work harder to make it work. But if you're just in the relationship, there's nothing to really hold you together, or make you think to yourself, you know what, she's my wife, so we need to sit down and discuss this. But if you're just in a relationship, you think, I'll just go out with somebody else. It's so easy to basically just decide to yourself, that you don't have to go through all the I'll say aggravation, but you don't have to go through the heartache, if as in just having in a relationship, But as a marriage, you have to go through the heartache, and you have to try and make it work. And I think that's the difference between a relationship and actually being married itself.
Wow. Yeah, I love that, that you explained that. And it's really interesting that, both two men on here have said that. Roger mentioned that commitment. He felt it was commitment to go to that next level. And so as David as well said, he felt that there was... Because I also want to say, because I know a lot of people will be listening and they're in a relationship and they've got a great relationship, and, they're happy with it as it is. And as Janet said, obviously everybody is making decisions for themselves, and, things can work. But I just wanted to kind of get that difference between... a relationship, why somebody's in a relationship and why they decide to go into marriage. Is there a difference? And, we've heard from, several people, two men and a lady, that yes. Lyndon, did you want to add anything to this question before we go further? We're going to go into dating, dating.
I think it's covered pretty well, actually. I think some people, they go into a marriage because they want security, you know what I'm saying, or they want to keep that person. Like, that's what David was saying, which is a very strong point. If you feel like you got someone, you don't want to lose them, so you marry them in that sense. So yeah.
Because you're saying to the world, I feel that, this is something between me and this person, and then you're inviting both families. And I think as well, it's important to look at what marriage was about, in the first place. It was always about bringing together, families, and those families were supposed to kind of protect the couple inside with their relationship, with their love, and then obviously the children are the offspring of that beautiful love and what have you. But I feel that what has happened over the years is marriage has just been reduced to, it's just a piece of paper. And so if people are hearing that over and over and over again, then they think, well, we don't really need to go to that next level. And at the same time, I don't think any of us is saying that a relationship is not a great vehicle for the love that two people share. And I'm sure we all know people who have been in their relationship for a long time and it's worked very, very well. But, obviously we want to look at the different vehicles and, Anybody want to say anything on top of that? Or we'll go into dating?
Imani, I think you're right, because for me, it's like in anything you want to become successful at, you got to shut the door behind you. When you get married, you're shutting the door behind you because you're not escaping. David mentioned it very eloquently. You're taking it serious. You're taking it to the next level. You want to make sure that you're moving forward from that perspective. Yeah. And if you don't make that decision to get married, sure, Janet's right. Everyone's different. For us, it wasn't. We needed to make that decision because there was another word that's really important. It's the necessity for need. I needed her to feel wanted. She needed me to feel wanted. We needed to do that to make ourselves be validated that we love each other. And maybe that is an institution that's really antiquated, but we believed in it. We believed in it to make it work, enough to make it work. But we needed to make sure we proved to each other that, you know what, you're the one.
Yeah.
Whether it's soulmate, whether it's your the person you look for the rest of your life, your angel, your queen, or whatever it is. For me and Paula, it was exactly that. I look at her today and I think she's fit. Just like we were when we were younger. When we were kids. I swear down, I do. I really do. I look at her exactly when we're in the gym and she's doing the bench press, mate. I'm thinking very different things. Listen, but the reality is, it's incorporating that, isn't it? It's the same need. I want to be validated. She wants to be validated. Was that the reason why we got married? No. The reason for getting married was that we needed to make sure that we're proving to each other that we want to both move in the same direction.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in theory, if you ask somebody and they say no, they don't want to get married, then do you really have a future? You see what I mean? So you need to know sooner than later to know where you're going in that relationship.
David, that's exactly it. Because you know what? When we said I do, now take religion aside, but when we had a church, when we were in church and we said I do, the new guy, other people, and more so the newer generation, they don't believe in that phrase. I do, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer. We were broke. We eat baked beans on toast every day, put a bit of chili sauce in it one day, a bit of brown sauce in it. Mate, you may do. Now, my man wants to go McDonald's every 5 seconds. He wants to go Burger King. Then people want to
Wagamama.
Wagamama. And
what's that all about?
It's crazy. They want money growing out of trees. We didn't have nothing.
Subway.
Yeah.
And so now it's too easy for them to try and indoctrinate a new philosophy, which has been shown by the media, I suppose, and by family members. And, marriages aren't as exciting as they used to be. And they never were, to be honest. But nobody ever told anyone the truth. The reality is it's hard work, like anything else. Yeah. But for me, that marriage part, that I do, these new people don't respect it in the same way that we were brought up, our values that we were brought up on, that it was important to do everything you possibly can. And that's just our perspective, I think, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing you there, and I when you said something there about the media, so that's kind of got a really strong effect on how people see marriage, see relationships, these days. And what I want to do, because I'm really enjoying this conversation with you all, and I want to kind of go back to the beginning. So obviously, people come together. What is that thing? What is that attraction? Because one of the things that tends to be a problem for people is keeping that attraction going, keeping that first feeling and that going. And what would you say about that?
Like Roger said, she looked fit.
I would say it's having things in common.
Oh my God!
Having things in common, and in our
case, it wasn't saying, "Jeez, my wife looks fit, boy."
Lyndon,
just like the first time.
No, but it's having things in common. In our, back in the day, for us, it was dancing, it was laughing, it was having fun. That's it. That was the law of attraction, having fun together. Obviously, looking at Raj and thinking, he's a handsome guy, and just feeling good around that person. Yeah. That person making you laugh. Again, connections. Janet said it, making connections. You're still making connections, lots of different connections with that person, but just feeling good in that person's company.
Yeah. And having the same type of music, because I know you guys used to dance when you're in the early days. So you're dancing together, whatever style that you was doing, you had a bond from then anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? And even through to now, you probably still got the same taste of music, which is it's funny. I was speaking to Jasmine about I think was it Roger's birthday party or Paula's? I can't remember. And when Ian was, I heard Ian's song come on the radio, the Beanie Man song, you know. And then I said to Jasmine, who was dancing to this song at Roger Paula's event?
That was Roger's 50th.
Yeah, and it was just like, wow, you all got the same thing in common.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
So for
family.
And Lyndon, for the benefit of Imani, on my 50th birthday, my wife surprised me and my children. So they basically, each child, so Jamie's he's 25-year-old now, Ian's 23, and Reese is he's 19. And so they all did a separate dance. And my wife started off doing her own dance. So I can't remember the white lines and all this kind of stuff, but we had a DJ there and they all did a special dance. And they were flipping sick. It was amazing.
Yeah.
All a big surprise, and it was phenomenal. Lyndon and his family was there, and you know what? We all do actually have a massive laugh. And me and Paula, when we grew up, and 18 and 17, were in little crews, little body popping crews, and all that kind of stuff. And I am still pretty good right now, I must admit. But, you know, yeah. But all I can say is we have a flipping laugh, and like our kids love our music. They love our little soul music. They like the ragga. They like the proper reggae. They like the hip hop. They love our music, and we got to like theirs, but not as much as they like ours. But so when we're an example is when we're in the gym, and they play our music most of the time. You know, it's a funny thing. It really is indeed. But you know, Janet said the connection. You're right. David mentioned exactly the same thing. It's the small little nuances that actually is the cement between the bricks.
Yes.
I would say also, to even add to that, from what you've been saying, Roger, it's all about having healthy activities that you can enjoy and connect with, whatever that is for you know, each person. So things that keep you sort of healthy, not just in the activity of, you know, doing exercise, but just keep you healthy. If it's a laugh, if it's, you know, whatever it is. So just having healthy connections, healthy things that make you feel good factor. So.
Yeah,
100%.
Awesome. So so we're back into the early part of, you know, two people have this connection, and you know what would we say is a connection? How would you describe it? And also, what is that? How can people keep a connection going throughout? And certainly listening to Roger and Paula, we can see that connection is still very there. That fire is still burning, you know. And anyone want to throw out any answers to that question?
I think what initially attracts you to that person.
Yeah, what initially attracts you, and what would you say? Because obviously, not every connection goes into a relationship, and not every relationship goes into a marriage. So, why does that? Why would you say that might kind of fizzle out? What is going on that is different from the person that you eventually decide this is the one for me? What is the difference between the other? You know, because every coming together is going to have a connection. What is it that is special about the connection that keeps going?
I think it's the energy, Imani. How you're energetically connected.
And I think what I'm really getting to is being able to, it sounds like, if we're looking at, say, what Paula and Roger have said, it sounds to me like they know they can go back to that. And I think when Paula was talking and she came up, when she said something, it made me feel like, they're having a conscious relationship. So it seems to me like that initial charge, that initial connection is kind of very, very powerful. but it comes from, Mother Nature bringing us together for, populating the world. But at the same time, you have to know how to recreate it. And, I feel that is something that maybe could be missing when, it doesn't turn into a relationship, or, people are saying, I'm not happy. Because one of the things that was said was the glass half full. And in the beginning, what brings people together is that happiness, is that best self. People come with the best version of themselves. And, obviously people are human, so sometimes you see the other side. But how do you get past that? And, in the dating side of things, because obviously anyone listening who's dating, what tips can we give to them or suggest that might help?
I think David mentioned it really well. The similarities you have are based on your foundations, your morals, your ethics, and when I met Paula, it was exactly the same in my household. They were humble people, they had good values, they were good, in our case, Paula was brought up by a lovely mum and dad or whatever it is, and there was just the same feeling of
familiarity.
Yeah, there was. We were like similar people. David mentioned it.
Yes, values are very important. Yeah.
And that family spirit, that family ethic of, valuing it, respecting it, not turning on your mum and dad and telling her bad things. We would never do that in our family, ever.
There is mutual respect, your faith, and a lot of things where you cross over.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, when you look at it, people nowadays, that has been lost. Our kids, we've instilled it in them, for example, and even though they're taller than me, I just have to raise my voice. And they're going to be quiet for a little while. But I think it's been lost in society because you can do what you want and everything else. But for us, that respect there was humongous. But when I met Paula, it was, well, she's exactly the same as me. We've been brought up the same way. And that was really, that connection was, for me anyway, it was really important for me that she wasn't a bossy person. She wasn't, all of that. She was just a nice, normal girl next door. That was important for me. That attracted me far more than physical appearance, and even though that was seriously nice, but that was beside the point. For me, she was much more nicer inside as a person. That was our connection.
Yeah, and having that as, the core values you're talking about, the mindset, your families, it sounded like there was this thing where both your families, you were brought up in similar ways. I know you mentioned, yes, different culture, but you sound like the things that really matter were always present from, and you've both been able to kind of keep that and, not let go of that, not lose sight of that.
Imani, the culture side had nothing. There was never an issue with us. Never. We're actually very similar, really incredibly similar. Just like David said, that has actually nothing to do with it. The funny thing is it made us stronger. Other people made it an issue. They may have made it an issue when we were kids and that, it won't work and all that kind of stuff. But Paula's mum in particular, open arms with me. Like you can't imagine. My family were far more staid and would have preferred me to marry somebody who was Anglo-Indian like what I am or what they are. And, a bit of Portuguese, a bit of Indian, a bit of everything in our family. But the reality is we're both born in England and that is it. We were so similar. It was brilliant, So the fun side of it was that we were similar. That was the connection, that they had good values. They were good people. They were honest. They were ethical. They were moral. That was all really important. But for me, after that, it was just getting, we got to know each other. We started to live together, got to know the good and the bad points. And then all of a sudden, more connections started growing, just like they do in our brain.
Layers.
There were lots of different layers. They were brilliant. And so then you'd find out, oh, God, is that how you did it when you were a kid? It's like, oh, that's how you do it there. And it was like, it was like more connections grew, and you can't even quantify it. I wish there was a flipping encyclopedia that explained all this, but it just happens. And that was
je ne sais quoi, as they say.
Yeah, je ne sais quoi. Yeah.
Wow. Anyone else want to say? Lyndon, do you want to come in here and say anything?
No, I'm happy with that. No, that's fine.
You say, yeah. Janet, do you want to say anything there?
I mean, because we're human beings, so we do have flaws, and it's all about the balance and the acceptance of those flaws.
I don't think we have flaws. I just think people don't accept you or understand who you are or what you are. I don't think it's a flaw. I think it's a person. I believe a flaw is a perception of what you think somebody else is, because you don't agree with what they are. You think there's something wrong with it, but that person is the way they are.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a flaw.
Yeah, but it's just that it's going to be the opposite of whatever.
But if you tell somebody there's a flaw with you, they'll see it as a negative rather than
it might
an encouragement. I wouldn't like my partner to say to me, "Oh, there's a flaw with you." I say, "But this is how I am."
But there always is going to, even if someone doesn't say it, they don't always have to say, "Yes, you've got a flaw." But there's always going to be that opposite.
Yeah, but you said the word though. You said the word.
Yeah,
so
I said the word. And I suppose it's the concept on how you see the word, because a lot of things, it's just like somebody might say.
That's confrontational.
No, it depends on how you see it.
That's confrontational as well. Because we all have an ego. We have these things. So it's being able. I think it's about. Yes, and don't forget. Some people they haven't got an ego. Some people are just more motivated. Some people are sanguine, than other people. So people who are not sanguine or more passive, they can't understand the sanguine. So they think they're. I tell you a perfect example. When I was younger, I must have been about 12 or 13. I was always excited. I was always motivated to do stuff. Yeah, my brother was a total opposite to me. And my brother told me one day. He said, "You know, you are Lyndon, you're just a big show-off." I said, "What do you mean I'm a big show-off? I'm just living my life." Because he wasn't the same as me. So that always stuck with me. Yeah. My brother said to me, "I'm a show-off," but I was never a show-off. Mm-hmm. I was just me being a child. So that stuck with me. And for many years, we never spoke to each other, even though we lived in the same house, because he had his own thing of what I was compared to what I knew I was. I was living my life, but he was living his life. So you can't. So this is what we do with words sometimes. We always think what we say to somebody is right, and we justify saying it, and we're not. Sometimes we have to control what we're saying to other people in a relationship and be humble rather than saying what we really think, because we don't know what that person's going through.
Yeah,
you don't know what that person's going through.
I see what you're saying. It's always about being sensitive to others, because we're all different. Somebody might say a word to me and I feel really upset about it, and somebody else doesn't. So it's always, and it's about, again, like it goes back to communication on what somebody thinks a show off is, or that can turn.
Sometimes
I always think it's always good to have communication that's open. So
I think is what Roger said before. In a relationship, or David said, in a relationship, you can walk away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. In a marriage, you can walk away.
In a marriage, it's not the same. It's not easy.
It's not.
So in a marriage, you can say what you want to say within reason, and then you're going to leave it to that person to deal with it the way they want to deal with it, or take it the way you want to take it. And then you're thinking, oh, it's up to them if they want to leave or stay. In a relationship, you say something bad to me, say bye. That's what you think, bye. But in a marriage, you say something that you don't really mean, then you got to work it out. Do you understand me? Because you're in a position.
It depends, really. I mean, some people may be in a relationship and think that they have invested time and effort in it and want to work it through, not just because. Yeah, but in the
relationship, it's easier to walk away. It's easier to walk away in a marriage.
I mean, I know sometimes we define it by this. If it's a marriage, we work on it. But if it's a relationship, whether it's long term or what, you say something horrible, then I'm gone. I don't think it's always like that. It may.
I think it's easier nowadays. Definitely.
Yeah, but maybe nowadays. Sometimes nowadays people are just going for the quick thing anyway. The quick gratification, the quick. I don't want to work out. Yeah. And sometimes there's things behind the not wanting to work out. It's just other stuff is coming up, and that's how it comes out. So sometimes it's like that. It's the way we are, and the messages we get told, and things we take on. So
I think put it into a more positive context, the strengths and weaknesses of the individual in a couple. So for me, one of my strengths is I am very decisive. I am very strict or disciplined. And that was good for when the kids were younger. Trying to do it now with 3 men isn't going to work. My wife has a different strength at this part in our relationship. And that's why she takes over at this point in dealing with the discipline or whatever it is. And it works really well. And we look at that as different strengths. So I try not to focus on the weaknesses, because I think I agree with Lyndon, because, some of these words we use in today's society are demeaning. I'll try and look at the positive side, even though they're valid and they do exist. We're not trying to say they don't. But the strengths we look at are that, not my turn this one, Pete, it's up to you, sort him out, okay? Otherwise, I'll do something that was in my old school of thinking, because I was uninvolved at that time, which would have been more detrimental to the team focus at this current time. So flaws or not flaws, it's irrelevant. For me, it's really about moving forward. It's about how we can be very positive, I suppose, going forward, and not the cliche of being positive, but having an aim and a focus where everybody benefits.
Yeah.
And David is right, and all of you are right, actually, from our personal perspective. When it's a relationship, that commitment doesn't exist. It is a different form of commitment, don't get me wrong, and I'm not belittling it or demeaning it in any shape or form. But for me and Paula, to having to go to that next level, and David used exactly the same phrase, that door was closed. But the problem is, in this day's society, they're leaving it open.
Exactly.
They're leaving it open.
It's wide open. It's wide open.
It's wide open. It's an escape route.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's an escape route.
Wow. Right. This conversation is just really going, and I'm hearing you all, what you're saying, and I feel, with Janet, you saying what she was saying, I actually feel that when 2 people come together, it's sort of, where, and as you use the word weaknesses and strengths, that seems to me that when 2 people come together, it's like the strength of what one person is. Somebody might be really good with money. The other person might be really good in the kitchen. The other person might be really good, with kind of the discipline with the children or what have you. So it's almost like they come together and they blend. And it's not about you looking at the weaknesses, focusing on the weaknesses, but it just seems that when you fit, and that's the thing I think we've been talking about all along, is 2 people fitting together. And it's like, because we are human and we are beings, and the being part of us is the really strong, part of us, the spiritual aspect. And the human side of us, sometimes feel sad, sometimes feel, I can't do this, I can't manage that. And so when you come together, it's like, and that's why people say my better half or my other half. It's almost like that other person comes with, strengths in an area that maybe is not that easy for, and you come together and you blend. And I feel that's actually brought a question up, because traditionally we always had, in relationships, in marriages, roles. And what if the man is better at, being with the children, and the woman is better to going out there into what? How do we kind of look at roles? And is it true that a role, men are designed for a certain role, women are designed for another role? And again, it's one of those questions that doesn't, people are going to have different thoughts about it. So can we answer that? Can we answer that rather?
Yeah, Imani, brilliant question. For me, it doesn't matter who it is, male or female, mum or dad. I don't think my dad was really strict. Blimey O'Reilly, I can think back on what he did. He was good at money. Yes, he was. Does that mean all blokes are good at money? No. I've got loads of friends who are girls who are fantastic with money. I take care of the money in our family, but my wife is really good at it as well. So it's just though the kids side of it was really disciplining with me at the beginning. Paula's more of it now. It's whatever works for you. In this particular case, in our relationship, it's really about, it doesn't matter who does it as long as it gets done. And not missing, not leaving it out.
And that's another key. That's another element that you both bring, saying that is, it doesn't matter who does it, so long as it gets done. And that's a beautiful thing, because it means it's more about the completion of the thing that needs to be done, and it's not about, oh, I have to do it or you have to do it, because it's always been the role of this gender to do this thing. So again, that's a lovely thing to hear. Anyone else want to come on that?
Yeah, I think the roles, they change after a while as well, depending on what roles are. Sometimes somebody's good at doing something, and then the other person develops into that role, so they become good at doing the same thing. So roles can be reversible at times as well. It's like one of my friends, she's a DJ, and when she talks about her husband, her partner, he does all the cooking, and she said she loves it. You know what I'm saying? He does all of the cooking. You know what I'm saying? She doesn't do no cooking at all, in the house. And this is a Jamaican couple, but she loves her husband's cooking, and he's happy to do it, and she's happy to let him do it. So the roles are different in that aspect. But she says, if I need to do something, I can do it, but there's no need for me to do it. So roles do change, and I think sometimes if one part of the partnership is not strong in one area, some people they take it up and then they carry it, and then when they carry that role, the other person may feel, oh, let me join you then, and they feel a strength within that. They think, oh, I can do that as well then, or I can help to a certain degree. So then the bit of bonding becomes one then. It's interesting. It's very interesting when you see different people have different roles and how it changes and how it develops. Definitely.
Okay. David, did you want to say anything about roles and what are you doing in your marriage?
I think David's gonna have a list when his wife moves in.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, at the end of the day, I like what Roger used to say about team, because that's what it basically boils down to. It doesn't matter who's doing what at what time, as long as you're doing it together and it's sorting out what needs to be done. And I think it works that way. Now, the missus, she's already told me what she wants and what she doesn't want, right? Which is good, because then
that's good, yeah.
Because then I know once I've done what she wants, she'll be happy, which makes me happy, if that makes sense. So which is fine. You know what I mean?
So she's not going to be washing, cooking, or ironing.
That's not exactly true. But anyway, but no, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously I've got two boys here, so I do the cooking and the washing and everything anyway. You know what I mean? But it's a scenario again. It's a team sort of scenario. You know what I mean? So and we'll just get on with it. We'll get on with it. Whatever needs to be done will be done, and then that gives us time for us. You know what I mean? As the relationship. You know what I mean? And I think that is the main scenario. So it doesn't matter which role anyone's doing, as long as it gets done, and then we spend time for ourselves.
100%, David. 100%. I think the other thing is the old scenario of the man being the breadwinner, and he'll be there bringing home the food and
bacon.
Yeah, bringing home the bacon and literally doing the food. And there are certain roles I think that it's like me, DIY, can't do it at all, but I'm a bloke, I should know better. Yeah. That's just absolutely is not going to happen. Okay, my wife has come to terms with that. We have to get someone in. He's called my brother. Okay. But you think about it, we are terrible. We keep pinning a role to a particular sex or personality or whatever, and just because of that, Lyndon is the chef. He's a bloke. It's supposed to be the girl's job, isn't it?
But you saying that, one of the things I envied my oldest brother for, they call him what's that word? What's that word? He does everything.
Jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah, and a master of none. Do you know what I'm saying? And I had to get my brother to come down and do something simple the other day. Do you know what I'm saying? There's something I know I can do, but I thought, let me get him to do it because he knows how to do it. Because if anything goes wrong, he can fix it. Do you know what I'm saying? You know? And I said, can you do this? He does so many different things. He's so, from cars, electronics, plastering, plumbing. He does so many things. And when I was younger, I thought to myself, I wish I could be like why have I not got the brains like my brother to be able to do all of these different things? Do you know what I'm saying? So, and he even cooks as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So, you know, his wife's blessed with him. You know, his wife. And my brother's been married, probably, how old was he when my brother's probably been married about 30 odd years now. Yes. Yeah, he's been married when he's 30 odd years now.
But don't you think also, Lyndon, that
keeper?
Yeah, he's a keeper. But don't you think also that we do whatever needs to be done? Like, for example, I can cook. In fact, I taught Paula how to cook curries, Indian curries, okay? But she cooks the West Indian stuff and everything else, but if I don't cook, if she's not going to eat. So she's obviously worked it out in her head as a couple that if I don't cook, we're not going to eat. Okay, because I'm busy doing the business or whatever else we're doing as a family. Yeah. And, you know, the kids cook, you know, but it's just we fit into the role that's not being worked on. It's not being done. Don't we? Yeah. You know, it's the gardening. I hate gardening, but I do it because she ain't going to do it. She does the cooking most of the time, nearly 99% of the time. And every so often I'll surprise her. Yeah, I get good brownie points for that. But it's the same with DIY. I'm not kidding you. As a bloke, I can put in the light bulb and I'm excited afterwards. If I get a screwdriver, I do the light bulb. I goes, DIY's been in the house, is what I say. Okay, and I might even do something like a plug. Yeah, it's just something that's simple to you lot. But for me, it's like major. Yeah,
I know what you're saying, yeah.
So we've all got different roles. When I see you cooking and you make it look so flipping easy, okay, I'm thinking to myself, holy mackerel, how did you know them two spices would go together? Yeah, I don't even know how that even works, bruv. But, you know, it's like for me in business, that's okay. Give me something business-wise, I'm okay. I can work it out. You know, but we've all got different abilities, strengths, and we just got to work them together. David's right. And he's making a serious list, bruv. Okay? But, you know, when his girl comes into the house...
But deep down, Roger, did you feel like you wish you knew how to do more DIY? Or do you think, it doesn't bother?
It doesn't bother me. I'm at peace with it. I really am. I'll just get a man in that can.
Yeah. The man who knows,
I love that. You know, it's being at peace with some of the things that maybe is not your gift or the thing that you can do very easily. And I think then you can pass it on to somebody else who can do it and feel comfortable with that. So that's lovely. Wow, we are down to the last 10 minutes. I really enjoyed this. I really want to do a part 2 as well. But what I'd like you all to do really is just share your how people can get hold of you, because I'm sure people might want to, you know, talk to you further, and so talk, you know, about and also your details. How can people get hold of you? And also, can you share something of value? You've given so many gems, so I'm not going to say you haven't. You've given so many gems. But is there any one thing that you would like to leave with a listening audience, especially with the fact that we've had a really, you know, bad year, and you know, some people are still struggling, and some relationships have gone astray, what have you. If you can leave something of value on top of what you've already left, and leave your details. So who wants to go first and just say their goodbyes?
I'll go first, Imani.
Go ahead.
I'd like to say that the grass is not always greener on the other side. No. Normally, you know, it's been watered, the foundations are put in, and people have made an effort. And sometimes you look and you think, oh, it looks better over there in that meadow. And it's not always the case. So people need to just work on their relationships and just work on their relationships, work on their marriage. Just make sure that you've thrown enough mud against the wall and you've given everything before, you know, you think about doing anything else.
Yeah, for us, it's really, if anybody wanted to get in contact with us, I don't think they would, but if they get us through the Diabetic King, through Inspired Diabetic, through Lyndon, okay, he's a phenomenal chap and phenomenal guy indeed, but look, for us, you know what, for us, if there was anything anyone can learn off, and I said it on our wedding day, okay, live each day as if it was the last. We don't know. Look at COVID coming in now. People's lives going. I know it's so easy to say all these little cliches, but we really believe it. We're working hard every day in our businesses, in our kids' businesses. We're helping people or whatever it may be. We're just two normal kids. Literally two normal young people who have just lived, lasted a long time together and hopefully will be forever. But even that, as a bloke, okay, if we're looking at it from a sex perspective, we have this standard joke. I hope I go before you because I ain't going to be able to do anything. Okay, it's honestly straight. I'm not even kidding. The kids were even saying today, if mummy went away for a month or went away for a week on holiday and got stuck over there in Dubai, there for a month, what the hell would we do? I said, I'll be at my mum's. I'm going to my mum's house. We're all moving into my mum's because at least we're going to eat, or whatever it may be. But, the reality is I'm jesting. But do you understand what I'm saying? It really is we're not here for long. I remember when we were 23 and 22, moving into that little one-bedroom piece of poo that we used to live in. And it was beautiful. It was our palace. Janet's right. It's all about perspective. It was our palace. It was ours. We were not married. We were planning on getting married.
One question, Rog. What's the favourite food that your mum cooked that you like?
It's called meatball curry.
Really, eh?
Yeah, it's a kind of Portuguese Indian dish.
So when you're going around, you say, "Mum, listen, make meatball curry."
Yeah, man, all day long. Just like when you have curry goat or rice and peas, same bruv, all day long.
I tell my mum, listen, I'm coming. Make sure you got some rice and peas and some stewed chicken. Yeah,
absolutely. But even all that, imagine the fun we have in our family. We have the mixture of both of the foods, which are just they're like the same. The kids don't know any different. I don't know any different, whether it's Indian chicken curry or West Indian chicken curry or make no flipping difference to me, as you know. But, hey, listen, what would I leave? I tell you what, the simplest thing is just hard work. Relationships or marriages, not going to be biased in either one. They're both hard work. But I know if you leave the door open, it's even harder, actually. I think it's easier when you close the door. Your mind changes. Your whole mindset changes. It changes that you're going to win. You're going to make this work. You're going to move forward. There's no escaping room. There's no escape room.
Yeah.
Thank you. And who wants to go next? Who wants to say their goodbyes and share a few words and just share how people can find you if they want to?
Well, just like what Roger said, they can find me through Roger, through the inspireddiabetic.com, my website, or my email address is lwissart@theinspireddiabetic.com. You can find me here. So my last passing words is just understand each other and just compromise, and don't feel like you have to get your last word in. And whatever you say is right, because it's not always that way.
Thank you, Lyndon. Who wants to go next?
Okay, I'll go. Janet, and I really would want to say, I think really it comes down to just enjoy, because there's so many complexities that we can go into. So just try to enjoy life in the best way that you can. It might be the smaller things that you do for yourself and you do for your partner or the ones around you that you love. So really just taking, I think this particular time has shown us just taking things easier and just finding the small things that really matter and are precious to you, to share with each other in the best way that you can, really. My email is grace@gmail.com if anybody wants to connect. I'm also looking at doing a short women's course at some point, so maybe the next time when I come on I'll talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, that's it. Just take the time to really just connect and enjoy.
Thank you, Janet. And that leaves Mr. Cooke. Can you come forward and just share a few words and share your details as well if you want.
Okay. All I would say was I would say a good relationship or marriage is when you feel like you're not in one. So you've got no pressures or anything. Yeah. And you can be yourself. That, to me, that tells me that you're in a perfect relationship, personally, because that kind of works for me. So I think if you've got any doubts, I think you should get rid of the doubts sooner than later. Otherwise, you could be in the same predicament I was 5 years later down the line, still complaining. So you've just wasted a lot of time when you could have moved on and been happier earlier, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I'd say just be honest with yourself as well, and then just try and enjoy life. It's as simple as that, I think.
Wow, thank you all so much. I've really, really enjoyed the discussion, and so many gems and so many tips there that people can go away with and think about and maybe even apply in their relationship or marriage. And thank you all so much, and probably we'll do a part 2 of this because it is a very important topic, and especially at this time. And I want to thank you all so much for agreeing to be on the show. You've really made the show really special. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye, Imani.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a wonderful evening to all of you.
Nice connecting.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, good to meet you all.
And you, David.
And you, Dave.